Every year on March 8th, International Women's Day is celebrated globally. On this day, the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women are recognized and celebrated. This day marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality and equity. International Women's Day has been occurring since 1911, well over a century, and people have been supporting the call for equity. Not just women, but groups, organizations from all walks of life. As we celebrate International Women's Day today, March 8th, I want to talk about the topic creating visibility for civil society organizations as we embrace equity for women. And I will be doing this by speaking to a number of persons who have various roles and who are involved in various organizations in Grenada. As I continue my discussion today on International Women's Day, I have with me Ms. Carlene Pezar. Today, she represents the Grenada Council of the Disabled. She will speak to us again how we can create or help raise awareness in the work of civil organizations like the Grenada Council of the Disabled to create safe, inclusive, and more equitable spaces for women so that we can unlock our full potential, particularly as there's a lot of talk about STEM. And we are celebrating International Women's Day today under the theme DigiAll, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Miss Carlene Pezar. Hey, girlfriend, how are you?
Hi, love. I'm good, thanks. And you?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Now, welcome to the Social Mind. Tell us a little bit about who you are. I mean, I know you because we're friends, but tell the audience about who you are and the organization you are representing here today.
My name is Carlene Pezar. I work with Grenada National Council of the Disabled. Grenada National Council of the Disabled is a non-profit organization that caters towards the needs of persons with disabilities within our Tri-Island state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. We focus on, of course, of Grenada National Council of the Disabled, also known as GNCD, is like I said, the umbrella organization for persons with disabilities. But under GNCD, we have the three schools for special education. We have Grenville, St. George's, and Victoria. We have Friends of the Mentally Ill. We have the school, Society of Friends of the Blind, Resource Center for the Blind, the School for the Deaf, in where we do a lot for persons with disabilities, like I said, but each entity focuses on their clientele, but GNCD has the broader spectrum of persons with disabilities, amputees, and so forth.
Okay, so since we're celebrating International Women's Health, no biases, because I know you're the umbrella for all the organizations, institutions that you mentioned. How does your organization help provide support to empower women?
We do a lot of support for women. We have training, and we never let persons do what we want them to do. We always ask them, what are their areas of interest. So whatever they're interested in doing, we provide a lot of training. We do a lot of sensitization. For women, we focus on a lot of those things.
Okay. Do you have any upcoming projects right now?
Currently, sometime in December we had the sword turning at Westerhardo, Lacalome, where we had a project with the ministry to do a building that would be an IT department, I should say, for persons with disabilities.
Are you preview to share a little bit more in that area or not? Okay, fine. How then can you mentioned that it's a non-profit organization,
Yes,
and so funding and so on, and I guess having people to play various roles is crucial for the
yes.
organizational functionality. How do we as volunteers or the public, how can people contribute towards that in terms of volunteering the public?
Okay, so we also got a subvention from the Ministry of Social Development, and we are strongly supported by our ministry, I must say. social development is very integral in part of GNCD. They're
Mm-hmm.
very committed to persons with disabilities. As for the public, how can the public be a part of assisting GNCD? You mean financially only, or it could be on a
In whatever,
broader?
in terms of our volunteer
Okay,
services, whatever
well,
spectrum
okay,
or
well,
scale. Mm-hmm.
if they want to do anything financially, we always accept donations, but we focus on a lot, as I said, sensitization. So persons being out there, being champions for persons with disabilities, assisting them on the sidewalk, not going to grab their hands, but ask them, do you need assistance? The sidewalks, as we can see, is not accessible for persons with disabilities, and that is really a challenge. Even a lot of business places, and we have to remember that Grenada signed and ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and there are a lot of buildings that presently going up now that's not accessible for persons with disabilities. So we would like people to be mindful of persons with disabilities. Don't think because they're disabled they need to stay home. They have to be out there also, and they have their voices. And we encourage them, they need to be independent. We don't always want persons to be going and do things for them. So they should be considered as part of, and if we look at the basic human rights, they are just entitled to just their basic human rights.
Now, this is a whole deeper conversation. But due to the scope of this, I would just ask, how do you think then? Because you mentioned, yes, you have the support of of your ministry, but how do you think our business communities can help support the organization of the Grenada National Council of the Disabled?
Well, the
Because
business
mhm.
Okay,
Go
the
ahead.
business can assist, as I spoke earlier about accessibility. When you go to some of the supermarkets, even as somebody that's visually impaired, I'm not visually impaired, but when you get there and you would see items on the shelves, and you're not knowing what is on the shelves. Someone with a disability, we have devices that's pen friend, so they can go to the supermarket and they wouldn't need to disturb the persons, what is here, what is there. They can use the pen friend and know exactly what is on the shelf, not even wondering, okay, I can't see or I'm visually impaired and the prices are so dim. Just to bold it, be considerate of persons with disabilities in your establishment. You can bold your prints. If you have your brochures, your pamphlets, you can bold it. Stuff like the things like that would be very helpful towards persons with disabilities, well, the blind and visually impaired, for persons with amputees and so forth. Just make your businesses accessible for them so they can come in and be a part of, and patronize your business just the same way.
Oh, absolutely. And I know there's a lot of talk about STEM, and you mentioned earlier that you have the special ed schools in the
Yes.
three places that you have. So there's a lot of talk about STEM. I particularly, I mean, it's probably outdated now in the context of the wider world. But there's a lot of talk about STEM. How can we, as civil society, lobby for women in those fields that are disabled, so to speak?
The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is just more or less of again, we can never finish speaking about accessibilities, and so forth, having dialogues and so forth.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier as well is creating that information technology room
Yes.
somewhere. Yeah, I think so.
Yes,
That
Nacolum.
means La Colombe. Yeah, so that's one
Yes.
of the, I suppose, the areas that we in Grenada here can really, I says, focus on. And again, it's a non-profit organization, so maybe the business communities as well can contribute into that. So the accessibility in terms of maybe,
And
so no, it doesn't always have to be financial. One could argue maybe you might have
no,
as a business partner, you might have buses or so you can transport the persons who have to go to the
persons,
facility
yes. And
when it's available.
also
So I suppose there's a lot
also our
we
office,
can do as civil
yes,
society.
we
Yeah.
can. Our office also has a computer lab. It's not up and
Okay.
running because the office is, yeah, but we do have a computer lab. Also, GNCD has a piece of land in Calice, that we're looking for funding. to do a building, an accessible multi-center for persons with disabilities. And embedded within that establishment, we would be having a bigger computer lab.
Okay,
So
lovely. So I
we're
guess that's
looking
a
for
plea
funding
to
there.
our business community, not only a
Yes,
business community, but also civil society on a whole. We can help and contribute in whatever way as we can. Like I
yes,
said, it doesn't always have to be financial. We could probably go and give our physical service. I don't know, carry some sand, do something. You might be into
yes.
construction, you
Maybe
volunteer your
even,
time and do
yes,
something. So you're
maybe even
absolutely
assisted
right.
us in writing a project.
Absolutely, absolutely. As we wrap up, Carlene, is there anything that you probably want to share with us on this International Women's Day to our audience?
Well, I would love for persons to be very mindful of persons with disabilities. I know we don't want to be biased today, but we're focusing on women. Assist them, if you know somebody in your community that's, well, let me make mention of, we have a seamstress, Michelle Barry, in
Right.
Samaritan. And I know it's kind of far, but persons within that community, can always support her. We have other clientels within different communities that has. We have Carol Samuel in Concord that has a shop. You can patronize, because you see that there are persons with disabilities and they are not just depending on, but they are trying to fend for themselves then. So we ask the public to be more mindful of persons with disabilities, assist them where possible. Like I said, not go grab their hands, and say, "Come, let me help you cross the road." But so ma'am, can I help you? Is there anything I can assist you with? Do you need help on the sidewalk? And even persons that's selling on the sidewalk, like again, we can never finish speaking about accessibility. And if you could just be a little bit more mindful to persons accessing the sidewalk, because even me with my 2 feet and my eyes have problems accessing these places. So just be mindful, and happy International Women's Day to everyone, all women.
Absolutely. And remember, some disabilities are not always visual. So the
True.
fact that you say that we should be mindful and help each other. And of course, yes, you said it correctly. Do not just go grabbing them, because sometimes the disability may not be in touch. Sometimes they don't want you to touch them for a
Touch
number
them.
of various reasons. So, Carlene, thank you so much for coming and share your thoughts and ideas of how we can make it better for women on this International Day, and representing the organization, the Grenada National Council of the Disabled. Thank you so much. As I conclude about the topic, creating visibility for civil society organization as we embrace equity for women, now I want us to imagine a gender equal world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive. A world where differences are valued and celebrated. I believe together we can forge women's equality, and collectively we can all embrace equity. Let us all celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness about discrimination and violence against women. Let us all take the action to drive gender parity. Happy International Women's Day to all girls and women all over the globe.